What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Houston Productions video. I'm your host Lucas to bring you another review, and today we are talking about The Last of Us Episode 2. This will not be an Easter egg type review. It's not going to completely break down all the plot points, but I will be bringing up stuff that happens specifically in this episode. So this is officially your spoiler warning. But before I can jump into my Episode 2 review of The Last of Us, I need you to do a couple things. First off, I need you to give this video a thumbs up. Everything will help the channel grow, and I appreciate that. And then number two, I need you to go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification if you are new around here. I know that a lot of people who are just now finding my channel are not subscribed, so go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe. It'll also help the channel grow, and yet again, I will also appreciate that. So let's go ahead and jump into my thoughts, my theories, what I kind of felt, and how much I enjoyed The Last of Us Episode 2. So, jumping right in. Just to start, I think this was another really good episode. There were a couple corny lines of dialogue, in my opinion, towards the beginning, but those kind of quickly went away, and it wasn't even a thing that really stuck out to my wife. It was just something that I kind of nitpicked at. But other than that, we started off with another flashback, which is really cool, and I hope that we continuously see how the world fell into the world where most of our story is going to be taking place with Joel and the 2023 world. I'm really interested in seeing how society just kind of collapsed. Like I said, we kind of start off with another flashback. It is done really well. And I have to tell you what, Christine Hakim, I hope I'm saying that right. She is the actress who plays the scientist that is brought to the first infected person that we know of. She does absolutely incredible acting here. The trembles, the fear in her eyes, the curious nature of that scientist when she first arrives versus her just starting to kind of slowly lose it when, describing the seriousness of the situation to the soldier, I thought was amazing. I'd also heard a fan theory that was brought up on the Ringerverse podcast. Shout out to the Ringerverse. I'm sorry, it was the Prestige TV podcast. Still part of the Ringer universe. Definitely check them out if you're not subscribed or listen to them. They have fantastic things. But one of the theories was that this could have been started with flour and an infection, a fungi infection through flour, and it actually turns out that that seems to be pretty close to being accurate, because there's a small little comment about a factory and them producing flour. So that was kind of a cool little Easter egg there. But yeah, I'm really happy that we start off with this idea of being able to see how society has collapsed instead of just getting used to this really good lived-in world, which is something I said in my first episode review. I like that this world is lived in, I like that it's established, but I still feel like we need to have a little bit of those things in the past explained to us so we can fully understand what's happening, especially since this isn't going to be an exact replica of the games. One of the things that I also wanted to point out is that they had an interesting conversation about some of the types of infected, but it kind of seemed like they were joking about it being, able to be spread at airborne. So it'll be interesting to see. I know that they've kind of changed already how the infection process happens. So what else are they changing? Are they changing how the infected are actually infected? Because there's supposed to be different types, species, time periods of your infection that cause you to do different things. So it'll be interesting to see how they really incorporate that. I also think it's really interesting that even though you can tell that there is a lot of use of CGI in some green screen areas, that they did a really good job of recreating, for the second episode in a row, a lot of these video game shots. And there's already a lot of videos out there breaking down the Easter eggs and doing the side-by-side comparisons of, the video game on one side versus, HBO's The Last of Us on the other. So I don't see the point of making another one of those. But it's really interesting to see that they took a lot of time and effort to really give this set dressing the thing that it needed, to really give us the pacing, the vibe of the world, even down to the point that for certain parts of this episode, it feels like you are playing the game where you have to, crouch and sneak and make sure that you're not heard by the clickers and stuff like that. Touching on them, the clickers design is really, really good. If you did not stay all the way through the credits to see the breakdown and the creation of the clickers design, you should definitely go check that out on HBO. But it's really, you can tell that this was made by people who thoroughly enjoyed the game, they enjoyed the story, and they're trying to do their best to make it so it's not just a shot-for-shot remake. They're adding and changing things to make it more cinematic and appealing to the audience, and so far it is really paying off. I also like the fact that they're starting to allude to a lot of different things just in brief, subtle comments. Like, for example, Ellie making the comment, "Oh, well, I can't swim." that seems very insignificant at the time when she jumps into water that is only going to go up to about her knees at the most. But if you have ever played the games, this is actually a big plot point because since Ellie can't swim, Joel has to transport her on different planks and devices to be able to get her to and from certain places that we may or may not see. So this could be a little bit of an Easter egg for things to come, which is pretty cool. And even if it's not, it's still that attention to detail from people who really enjoyed this story, this world. So I would have to say that this is well worth the watch into its second episode. There were a couple things that I really didn't understand. Like, for example, the big one that most people are pointing out is why didn't Joel take, any types of weapons or supplies whenever they were at the Firefly outpost? And there's a moment right there where I think you can kind of see why. As soon as Tess spills out over the barrels of gasoline and grenades fall onto the floor, Joel has this kind of like visceral moment, almost like a PTSD type moment when he's looking at the grenades, which kind of might lead us back to him actually being a veteran, because we did see that sticker on the back of the truck in the first episode, but it wasn't clear whose truck it was. His brother Tommy was driving, so is it Tommy's truck? Is it Joel's truck that, Tommy was just driving? So it's not really known, but the only times that we saw that truck in the first episode being driven was by Tommy, which kind of leads us to believe that it was Tommy's truck. But I think that if you go back and you watch that scene when Tess does knock that barrel over and those grenades do hit the floor, he has this kind of like freeze. He just kind of looks at it, and it's not terror, it's almost like he's remembering something, which I think may be an interesting plot point that we're going to explore later on, possibly in other flashbacks about him being a veteran, which would be an interesting plot point. I also like I said, the attention to detail in the show is amazing. Whenever Tess does get infected, yes, this is a spoiler video, I did give you the warning, so quit complaining. When Tess does get infected, she does a very good job of hiding it, to the point that it's interesting that she continues to walk in front of the group, because whenever she looks back to glance at them at one point, you can actually see it. If you go back and watch it, you can actually see the infection on her neck, and then she quickly kind of readjusts. She's doing everything she can to hide the infection for as long as possible, because I think that she's really starting to understand the importance of Ellie, and she needs to get that importance driven all the way into Joel. So there's a lot of really good details in the show. There's a lot of stuff that is Easter egg-ish that, of course, go watch one of those videos. There's tons of them out already. But overall, the show is fantastic so far. I am really excited that we're back to having a Sunday night show, because we're kind of sitting in limbo. 1923 is on hiatus, Yellowstone's on hiatus, The White Lotus ended. It just kind of seemed like we were missing a show on Sundays. And so far, this show, 2 episodes in, has done everything to get me and my wife hooked, and we can't wait for each new episode on Sundays. So tell me what you thought about The Last of Us. First 2 episodes are out. Do you have any gripes? Do you have any praise? What are your thoughts? Are you hooked? Are you just kind of lukewarm? There's a pretty big rumor for a lot of people who receive screeners that episode 3 is going to be a pivotal episode, so maybe give it one more episode if you're on the fence. But yeah, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about The Last of Us so far. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Lucas, here at Houston Productions. I'll catch you in the next one. Happy watching.